Hey there. Have you ever wondered if your life or a part of you might be calling you to some other role in education or something beyond education? That is a quiet voice. It's often the voice of your higher self or inner self or your soul, whichever word you want to use. It's subtle. And it might be like, oh, I don't have the motivation for this anymore. I'm just not excited about this. I've just lost my passion, or oh, my heart isn't in it anymore. Or maybe you find yourself saying, I don't know how much longer I can do this, whether that's at the beginning of the year or this point of the school year, or even at the very end of the year when you're thinking about going back the next year. Anytime it's those questions, it's difficult. I want you to know that when you get those thoughts, there's not something wrong with you. It doesn't make you a bad teacher that you don't care about your students. They are something to be aware of, to treat as though they're precious, tiny little seeds. They're not something that you advertise to the world. It's very similar to a couple that finds out that they're pregnant and they don't really tell anyone until after the first trimester has passed to just protect and keep everyone and everything safe. And then when things are moving along, then okay. And this idea, these thoughts about transitioning out of education or into a different role in education, those are precious too. They're private, they're personal, and you get to keep them to yourself. One of the important reasons for doing that is because when you start sharing them out with everybody, you get everyone else's filters that will tell you, forget it. And maybe that's not what you need to do. You might bring up someone's fear of change or that certainty and that stability and security that education brings by the regular paycheck and the health benefits and so on, the vacations, all the good things too, right? And then there's that piece where maybe someone has reached a ceiling or they're feeling burned out, and you talk about this is kind of why you want to move on. Whoa, they're going to tell you all the reasons not to. Well, you have all this education and you're tenured, and do you really want to throw that away? And look at all the money, all the time, everything that you've wasted. And so it kind of like puts a kibosh on those precious thoughts and ideas that came from your own higher self. Should you talk to anyone? Well, sure. I'm sure you have trusted friends or your spouse, your partner. Definitely, they would be involved in those things anyway. However, remember that they're going to be impacted by your changes as well. So you might also want to consider talking with a coach or a mentor or advisor because they're going to have an objective approach simply because they are not directly impacted by the changes that you make, because change has a domino effect on everyone around. But know that this is a precious time and you deserve to consider whether or not you really do want to continue in your role in education, whatever that might be, as an administrator, as a counselor, as a teacher, a librarian, it doesn't matter. Maybe there's another role in education that might be a better fit. Or maybe it's something that's completely outside of education. And that's okay too. Just because you're frustrated and feeling unmotivated or like lacking in passion or like the stress and the overwhelm and the pressure, it's just too much. You really feel like you've lost that work-life balance, and maybe that is now your new priority where you don't want to work 60 or 80 hours a week, both at school and at home. That's okay. You're allowed that. It doesn't mean that you care less about your students or that you're not doing a good job. It simply means when you start having these thoughts about transitioning out of education, that season in education is evolving, it's changing, and it might have another look. And that's totally fine. That means you're growing. So I have an action step for you today. And that is, if you've listened to the end of this, then you really are considering the possibility of transitioning out of education. So know that in the coming weeks, I'm going to be having a whole series of videos like this where I talk about the different stages of transitioning in education. For right now, for today, sometime in this week, then I encourage you to take out a journal and think about if there was no judgment, everything was possible, what might the next chapter of your career look like? What would you love to do? What would be fun for you to do? And just play with that. Love and blessings until I see you next time. Namaste.